share with you 6 things that you need to know before using Gaffrey paint. I've been using Gaffrey paint for about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years now. I've created a lot of paintings with it. I love it so much. I use it all the time. It is one of my favorite things ever, and I love talking about it, so I thought I would share with you 6 tips that I think will help you. So number 1, you are going to get addicted. I'm sorry, you might as well get used to it now. You can't use it just once and be like, meh, that wasn't cool, because it's amazing. The things you can do with it, the immense depth that you are able to achieve with a 3D paint, oh my gosh, it's out of this world. I freaking love it, okay? So you will too. You might as well set aside a budget for it now, because I can't see any of us going back. So just bear that in mind. It's amazing, and you're gonna want to do it all the time. So make space in your budget and make space in your time, and just start finding places to put your art, either on your walls or selling it or whatever it is you do with your art. Number 2, the best tools for using when you're working with this medium is either going to be palette knives or piping, like a piping bag, piping tips. I have such a variety of piping tips that I adore. Let me grab some for you. These are the piping bags I have currently, and I've actually had a lot of different piping bags from different brands. This one says it's a 12-inch, and it looks like this. And I find that's a good size, but if you're doing really, really big pieces of work, you might be better off with a 16-inch or maybe even bigger than that. So here I've got such a variety of different tips that I like to use. And if you followed me on this channel, you've seen me use a couple. If you're new, please subscribe, because I would love to show you all the cool stuff I make. And I've also used palette knives to create works like this one or this one. So this is one of my very earliest works, and I just think it's so spectacular because it's so simple and it's a little messy, but I love it. There's just something about that makes it so charming to me. So I just love it so much. I always have it up for display. And this one is very popular. Whenever people come over, they always love this one. This is inspired by a rose that has that beautiful color melt from dark to light to almost like minty green on the outside. And everyone loves this one. So that's pretty cool. And I used a palette knife for this one and for this one, but it's very different techniques, so you can see the variety of things you can do with it. When you use a piping tip, this is one of the examples for what you can do with it. Now, if you want to go a little bit further, and I wouldn't say this is a tool so much, but it's a medium you can choose to add. This is a piece of wire. So it's very bendy, and it also is very strong to hold on this flower. So here's another one of just a way that I haven't seen classical art really portray. And I love creating new stuff and interesting stuff such as this. So number 3, this paint dries very quickly. And what I mean by that is you probably have maybe 5 minutes or less before this paint will start forming a film over the top. And this means that if you're not careful and you go back in, like say you're piping the background of a bouquet such as this one's still very wet, so I'm not wanting to move it too much. when you're piping the center of this and creating that wet paint for the dry flowers to stick into, if you're not careful, you're going to start noticing that when you touch your piping tip down or your flower and you go to readjust it, it'll start pulling strings. So you have to be careful about that. Work quickly. And if you're going to adjust something, do it fast, and just, this paint makes you be brave quickly, because you just have to commit, you know? And I've seen that some people will scrape up flowers and put them back in the bag and repipe them. I'm not a fan of doing that. I feel that it clogs up the piping tip. Now, granted, every piping tip is different. This one, for example, it's probably not a big deal. It might get stuck a little bit up in this skinny tip. But if you're dealing with something that's got small holes like this, please don't repipe your stuff if you're trying to make something that looks professional. If you're just wanting to play around, that's one thing. And a lot of times I do just play around, because I think that's a very important part of the learning process. You have to know what this paint is capable of doing and where its limitations are in order for you to make it do incredible things with you. So, I wouldn't recommend repiping unless you're brand new to this and you really just want to get a feel for what you're doing, because it kind of messes with the dry time. It does dry relatively quickly on the outside, but if you're dealing with a very large bouquet or very large flowers, it may take a week or two to dry. It dries to the touch in about 1 day, and if it's a small flower, it can dry in 2 days. Sometimes I like to create my bases for roses before I start piping on the petals, because it allows it to dry quickly. Let's move on to number 4. So it's important that you care for your paintings, or if you have piped flowers, you need to take care of those very well if you want to put them aside and wait for them to be ready to use in a bouquet. Say you've got 2 flowers. If they're touching, or they're like sitting on top of each other or something, they will morph together. It is very important that you separate things with a piece of parchment paper, and here I can actually show you. See, there's a bit of paint here on the bottom, and this stuff will pretty much glue itself together. It's very smooth, it's very shiny on the surface, so it's got a lot of ability to just meld together. Another issue that I actually recently faced, and I'll see if I can add a little clip here from the other day when I was unpacking flowers. You need to make sure that when you're storing them, you're not smushing them from the top, and you're not touching them to other paints like it, or any smooth surfaces. And even when we were moving here the first time to Italy from the US, I had a very large painting, and I still have it, but some of the highest flowers, like I guess you could say the peaks, they got squished, and 2 or 3 of them got cardboard residue stuck on them. And that made me very disappointed, because I tried very carefully to pack them with the movers so that it would all be taken care of. But, you know, the parchment paper shifted and the cardboard touched it, so even that can compromise your painting. So I would say, to be safe, cover everything with parchment paper, and then if you have to stack it, create like a bubble wrap layer or a paper, like crumpled up paper, and then put your next layer on, and then parchment, and so on. You know, you want to keep parchment between every single surface, bottom and top. So just, I just want you to avoid disappointment like I've experienced, because I have lost a couple things that way, and it's just sad to watch your hard work be ruined. So for number 5, I would recommend that you always clean your tools while they're wet, and if you're not going to clean them right away, pop them in a jar of water like this. So I've just been painting, especially brushes. You're gonna lose your brushes if you don't wash them right away after using Gaffrey paint. Little addendum. I mostly use palette knives, and even those, I want them to be clean. Otherwise you'll be scrubbing, then you'll get flecks of paint going down the drain, and that's just no fun. And then number 6, if you are going to be mixing this paint to create your own colors with something like Liquitex, I like to use Liquitex and kind of adjust the colors that I get. Sometimes I'll get pure colors, but a lot of times if I don't have the budget for it, I will choose white or clear, and then I'll mix my own colors. It's very important that you don't add so much pigment that your Gaffrey paint gets thin, because the thinner it gets, the less it's capable of holding those stiff peaks that we love so much. For example, you see that rose? You see how sharp those petals are at the top? You're going to lose more definition if you thin it too much. So please be careful, test drive it a couple times so you kind of know what you're doing, and I hope you have happy painting, and I hope you have easy times and learn from your mistakes, and I hope you have as much fun using this paint as I have had and continue to have. And then I just wanted to say that if you're having any specific problems, please let me know in the comments, specific to Gaffrey paint, please. If you're struggling with a specific flower and you can't seem to pipe it quite right, please let me know. I would be happy to make a video and show you exactly how I do it, and I will drop as many bits of wisdom as I can, because I've been doing this for a while and I've learned so much about, you know, your hand has to be adjusted just like this, and then you turn your piping nail or whatever you have your cake stand at just the right angle, and sometimes that makes all the difference whether your flower stands up or falls out. A variety of things like that. So please let me know in the comments. Also, I would love to know if this is helpful. Let me know in the comments if you like stuff like this, and if you want to know more stuff that I haven't told you yet, because I probably know a lot of stuff that I just haven't talked about yet, and I'd be happy to share it if I know what you guys want to hear. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I love having more of you guys hanging out with me over here, and I love making art videos, so stick around. You might like what I've got coming for you. Alright, bye you guys.